Hello. Previously, I made a video on how to install an M.2 NVMe SSD into an external enclosure for swappable and portable storage. In this video, I'll be showing you how to install a 3.5-inch hard drive into an external enclosure. This type of storage has slower speeds, so it's best used for backups instead of live sample loading and other things like that. Those are best used for SSDs, whether that be NVMe or 2.5-inch SSD drives. So this is a larger form factor, as you can see. So it isn't as portable as the M.2 drive, but since I'm using this for just occasional backups, that shouldn't be an issue. It's also more fragile, as inside there's a spinning disk that stores the data, so this is why it has slower speeds. And also exposed electronics that are very fragile, so it's not recommended that you carry this around everywhere. What I plan to do and what I would recommend you do is to just leave it on your desk and only plug it in when you need to use it. So the enclosure I have is the Orico 3.5-inch hard drive to USB-C external enclosure that is externally powered. I chose an externally powered one because in my head, the higher power allows for higher speeds because the disk inside the drive can spin faster. The USB cord can only supply 5 volts up to 15 watts, but the external power supply can do up to 12 volts, 24 watts. So it's about 60% more power. And I'm not sure if it actually does this, but if the enclosure combines both, that's 39 watts in total, so more than enough power to charge a drive and about double the wattage that it takes to charge an iPad. Also, if the USB cord gets disconnected while I'm using it, the power of the disk won't shut off and the disk hopefully won't get damaged. And please, as a disclaimer, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not 100% positive that any of this is true, but I wanted to go on the safer side because I knew I wouldn't be lugging it around everywhere. It'd probably just stay in my room on my desk whenever I need to do an occasional backup. Now we're going to install the drive. The Orico comes with this plastic enclosure with this top on it. It took me a little bit to figure out how to take this off, but you kind of just grab it and slide down and it opens up. And here you can see where you plug your drive in, and it also comes with this external power brick, I guess you can call it, and it has an adapter on it, I believe. I'm not sure how to take it off, but I put on the North American adapter. I forgot to mention the Orico comes with this external USB cord, which is USB-C to USB-C with a USB-A, which is this square USB. So this is C to C, which is what I'll be using for my MacBook, but you can also do C to A if you have a laptop that has one of these ports instead. So very convenient, very nice. So this Orico power external was probably about $23, I think, on Amazon. I wanted to aim for $100. So this 4 terabyte hard drive from Seagate was only about $86. So I got to my goal of about $100 for 4 terabytes of storage. The recommended by Berkeley NYC for backups, which is the grad school I'm going to, was about $500 to $800, which was a external SSD that could not be replaced, and you needed to buy a completely new one every time it fills up. So the great thing about this is that if this 4 terabyte hard drive gets filled up with all my backups, whatever it may be, I can buy another one for another $85 and just keep replacing it. I wouldn't need to buy an entirely new external drive. So this enclosure works with as many of these as I have, and I mean, I'm kind of a nerd, so I have a bunch of them right here, and I can just swap them out whenever I want and access whatever kind of data I want. So as for the installation, you take your drive in one hand and your enclosure in the other and kind of tilt it down like this until you kind of feel the slot kind of go in. You can't really see it, but I can see that it's kind of lined up, and then you just push and then it should fall right into place right there. So I wouldn't recommend doing this very often. I'm just doing this for the video, but once you do it once, I would just leave it in. Occasionally there are screws or adapters or something. Consult your manual for that, but for mine it just slides in and then you're done. So that's all you need to do. And then take the top, oh sorry about the focus, take the top, put it back on, click it into place, and then that's the enclosure. So now I'm going to plug this external power supply in. So now I have my Orico plugged in. There's a little power button on the front here, and that's the USB-C port that I can plug into my computer. So I'm going to plug it in first. So on my Mac, as you can see, there's no drive showing up, and so even though it's plugged in, that's because the power isn't on. It's the little power button. I'll click it. I can feel it whir to life, and it should pop up in a few seconds. Oh, sorry about that. My connection is kind of bad. Oh, the way I set it up, since it's for backups, I need to input a password because it is an encrypted disk. That's what Apple makes you do for your MacBook backups. But what you can do is format it and partition it in a different way that doesn't necessarily need this. But for backups, this is what I'm using. So as you can see, it pops up with backup, and this is my most recent backup that I've done, just the first one since I got it. This was not the first time that I've plugged this disk in, so the prompt to initialize the disk didn't show up, but normally you would need to go into disk manager, or disk utility, sorry, and select the disk backup and click partition. So once you click this, see the format is APFS, which is Apple formatting something, but I like to do exFAT for things like samples, but for backups they require you to use APFS encrypted, but for this M.2 NVMe I use exFAT, so I don't need to worry about that. But then you just click apply with the full size of your disk and whatever format you want to do. I would recommend exFAT or APFS if you're doing backups, and click apply, and it will create the disk for you, and it will do something called mounting it, which means it will pop up right up here. So that is how to install and how to use a 3.5-inch external drive. If you want to eject it, you just do the typical eject and then turn it off. But that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and comment if you have any questions or you want any clarifications, or if you can expand on anything that I've said in this video.